and with the Indiana Fever. Today, unfortunately, we have the horrific, terrible news that Sophie Cunningham is officially out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL.
What really happened under the basket that night was more than just a torn ligament. It was a moment that ripped through an entire season, exposed a simmering frustration within a league, and split fans into two furious camps. On one side, a tragic accident, a player falling awkwardly in the heat of competition. On the other, something far more sinister, a targeted attack, a malicious act captured on camera, and then seemingly confirmed by a chilling, viral grin.
This has been an injury-riddled season for the team and Sophie Cunningham. You gotta remember, she had that ankle injury, which is why she's wearing an ankle brace in the game. She had that in the beginning of the season. She was dealing with an injury. She fought back, came off the bench, got into the starting lineup, and she started lighting it up for us. She was knocking down the threes. She was bringing that energy, and us fans wanted her to get more shots, and we were upset at the fact that she's standing around wide open looking for the ball, and she's just not getting the ball out on a lot of the.
This is a story of Sophie Cunningham's devastating injury, the firestorm that engulfed Bria Hartley, and the shocking silence from the WNBA that left everyone asking one brutal question: when does tough competition cross a line into something dangerous? If you support athletes who speak truth to power, comment "fired up" right now. The diagnosis was as final as it was devastating. A torn right MCL. For Sophie Cunningham, it meant an immediate and brutal end to her season. The news was a sledgehammer blow to the Indiana Fever, a team already reeling from a catastrophic injury crisis.
The hits just keep coming for the Indiana Fever. Not unexpected that Sophie Cunningham ruled out for the season, but devastating nonetheless as the injuries just continue to pile up. Of course, Coulson already out for the season, Arie McDonald out for the season, and now Sophie Cunningham out for the season. That's with Caitlin Clark still out and having been out for much.
Think about it. Caitlin Clark, the superstar rookie, was already sidelined. Coulson was out for the year. Arie McDonald was done. The Fever's roster was being held together by tape and sheer will, and Sophie had become its undeniable heartbeat. She was the embodiment of their fighting spirit, the veteran whose grit defined their identity. She wasn't just a scorer. She was a toughness, the veteran presence, the player who wasn't afraid to stand up for her teammates, often serving as an emotional catalyst on the floor.
Sophie Cunningham was targeted, y'all. I'm telling you right now, Sophie Cunningham was targeted by Bria Hartley, and it just is what it is. It is what it is. I don't want to sit here and play games and act like, you know, she wasn't. She was targeted by Bria Hartley, and that's just the fact of the matter. And people can act like it's not all they want. I told you guys this girl was a dirty player, and that's all she did today was show how dirty.
She fought back from an early season ankle injury, fought her way into the starting lineup, and had become indispensable. Her shooting and defensive intensity key to any chance they had at competing. And in one chaotic second under the rim, it was all taken away. The air didn't just leave the arena, it left the entire season. Her absence created a void far larger than her stats suggested, a loss of heart and soul that a team already on the ropes might not be able to overcome. But for fans watching, this wasn't just another unlucky break. It was a culmination of a pattern they had been seeing all season long, a trend of physical play often going unchecked. The moment Bria Hartley drove to the basket, lost her balance, and crashed directly into Cunningham's planted leg. Social media didn't see an accident. They saw a replay of her reputation being confirmed in real time.
Now look, you can tell Bria Hartley, in my opinion, she launched herself into her knee. She did. And I've seen some of the reaction online, and guys, it's despicable. It really is. There's a lot of people celebrating this injury. And guess what? You can imagine who it is. It's members of the old WNBA fandom, the ones that root for Paige Beckers and Angel Reese and Asia Wilson and all the usual damn suspects.
This wasn't Hartley's first flashpoint, and that context was everything. Just weeks earlier, she was at the center of a massive on-court skirmish against the Chicago Sky that got multiple players ejected, a game that descended into chaos with her at the epicenter. Then came the incident with Angel Reese, where cameras clearly caught Hartley pulling Reese's hair, during a frantic loose ball scramble, an act many saw as intentional and outside the spirit of competition. When you string those moments together, the ejections, the questionable physicality, the collision with Sophie Cunningham stopped looking like an isolated event. To thousands of watching eyes, it started to look like a habit, a pattern of behavior, where the line between aggressive and dangerous had been repeatedly blurred without significant consequence from the league.
Having to shoot, Cardoso rolls, catch, Cardoso over the top, can't get it, Reese fights for the rebound, and a foul, and this time gets a little chippy, and a shove on Nelson Adota. And listen, this arena, typically we'll see some ringside fights, and Charles...
And in the wake of that moment, the response from authorities in charge was absolutely nothing, a silence that spoke volumes to a frustrated fan base. The referees on the court called a common foul, nothing more. There was no flagrant foul assessment, no official review to take a second look at the contact that had just ended a player's season. The league office, under Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, stayed completely silent for days. No statement. No suspension, no indication that they even saw the play as worthy of a second thought. This silence was deafening because it stood in stark contrast to how the league often operates in other matters. Players like Cunningham herself have been fined quickly and publicly for speaking out about officiating or other players, creating a glaring double standard. The message to many became painfully clear. The WNBA was fast to punish words, and it was to punish actions that ended careers.
And Sophie Cunningham's sister was none too happy about it and slammed the WNBA. Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. It's pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie. That's Lindsay. That's her sister. Well, her sister made this comment and it brought out the scumbags.
The whistle wasn't just swallowed. It felt like the entire system had looked the other way, prioritizing a narrative of tough play over the tangible safety of its athletes, leaving players and fans alike questioning the league's priorities. The raw, human emotion of the moment wasn't just coming from fans. It erupted from Sophie Cunningham's own family, who watched the incident not as a sports play but as an attack on their loved one. Her sister, Lindsay, took to social media with a blistering post aimed directly at the WNBA, her words dripping with fury and frustration. She didn't hold back, accusing the league of caring more about finding players for criticism than about hiring competent officials who could consistently protect its athletes, calling priorities pathetic. Her mom, Paula, added to the fury in a since-deleted post, calling Bria Hartley reckless and out of control, suggesting this was part of a known pattern rather than a one-time mistake. This wasn't just sports debate anymore. This was a family watching a loved one's livelihood get damaged in what they perceived as a preventable situation, and they were pointing fingers not just at the player involved, but at the institution they felt had created an environment where this could happen.
Sophie Cunningham, let's be clear here. Sophie Cunningham was targeted. Let's be very, very clear here. Sophie Cunningham was flat out targeted by a dirty
Their unfiltered anger gave a powerful voice to frustration countless fans were feeling and put immense personal pressure on the league to finally respond, transforming the story from a game highlight into a human drama. Then Sophie Cunningham herself finally spoke, and what she said shocked everyone. The basketball world was braced for fury, for a condemnation that would fuel the raging fire of online controversy. Instead, they received a lesson in grace and perspective that left many reeling. On her own podcast, the atmosphere was not one of anger, but of somber reflection.
Bria, and I'm actually really good friends with Bria, and I have been waiting to get on the pod and so we could talk about this because I did want to tweet it out, but I don't think that there was no ill intent. I think it was basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. She fell. Like, there's no way that she would go in there and intentionally try to hurt me. And so I had nothing but love for Bria, and I even told my mom because she tweeted something. I was like, no, Mom, I get it, but I promise you that I was like, Bria and I are super cool, and she would never try to hurt me, because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so I have nothing but love, and so I hope people stop giving Bria some heat, because I don't think she meant to do that.
Her voice, calm and measured, cut through the noise that had dominated the discourse for days. She didn't use the platform to assign blame or seek vengeance. Instead, she did the unthinkable. She called Bria Hartley a friend. She painted a picture of their relationship off the court, a bond that existed outside the brutal confines of competition. She explained her belief that it was just a basketball play, a chaotic moment in a fast-paced game, where she was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. She explicitly stated she felt no ill intent from Hartley, appealing directly to her fan base to understand the nuance of the situation. This was a display of incredible maturity from a player who had every right to be furious, whose entire season and livelihood had been dramatically altered. She pleaded with fans to stop the barrage of hate directed at Hartley, understanding that the online vitriol was a separate injury, one that didn't help her heal and only added more negativity to an already painful situation. It was a powerful moment of empathy that completely reframed the entire incident, forcing many to reconsider their own harsh judgments. But Sophie wasn't done. If her podcast comments were an olive branch extended to an individual, her next move was a declaration of war against the system. In a separate, fiery social media post that exploded across platforms, she showed a completely different side of her complex response. She posted a legendary, defiant message that instantly became a rallying cry. Some of us were raised by the words of, "Don't bite off more than you can chew," and some of us didn't. F around and find out. This wasn't a message for Hartley. The tone and target were completely different. This was a shot across the bow aimed directly at her haters, the trolls celebrating her injury, and most importantly, at the league itself.
3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the whistle? On the quick whistle?
Yeah. But like, why?
It was a declaration that she would not be broken by this, that she would not go quietly into night and simply accept her fate. She was still here, and she was still fighting. This duality was incredibly powerful. It was grace for an individual she believed was not malicious, but unwavering and fierce defiance against a culture of negligence that allowed such dangerous situations to unfold without consequence. This stark contrast between her personal forgiveness and her systemic fury wasn't a contradiction. It was a masterclass in addressing a complex issue. By clearing Hartley's name of intentional malice, she effectively redirected the entire focus of the outrage. The problem was no longer just one player's actions. The real problem was the environment that permitted those actions to have such devastating results.
Saved against the Connecticut Sun, but can it be salvaged, I guess, is the question here, because Sophie Cunningham was one of the better players for the Fever all year. She is going to be tough to replace, even if the rest of the squad can get to full strength. But as they've battled, as they've continued to fight, to me, you don't punt on the season, because you don't know how many chances you get, and you have to reward that grit. The question just goes back to, again, when is Caitlin Clark going to be back? There remains no clarity on that.
It forced everyone to stop asking, did Bria Hartley mean to do it? And start asking the far more important question. Why does this keep happening? And why does no one in charge seem to care enough to stop it? Her social media post was a message to the league's office. Her career had been sidelined, but her voice would not be silenced. She was putting them on notice. The phrase "find out" was a promise that she would use her platform to demand accountability, to call for better officiating, and a fight for a safer environment for every player in the league. She was channeling frustration of every athlete who had ever been on the wrong end of a dangerous, uncalled play. This powerful 1-2 punch of communication strategically dismantled the simplistic villain narrative. It demonstrated a level of emotional intelligence that is rare in the heat of such personal and professional turmoil. She understood that Hartley was also a human being caught in a storm, but she also understood that the system that failed to protect her was a faceless entity that needed to be held to account. This approach earned her even more respect, transforming her from a sympathetic victim into a formidable advocate. She wasn't just lying on the couch injured. She was mobilizing, using her setback as a launching point for a much larger conversation about player safety and league accountability. Her response became bigger than the injury itself. It became about the future of the league and the well-being of her fellow players. She emerged not as a casualty, but as a leader, proving that her value to the game extended far beyond her ability to score points on the court. Her voice now amplified by this personal tragedy, became a powerful instrument for change, leaving fans and critics alike in awe of her strength and strategic brilliance. If you're inspired by Sophie's incredible strength and her fight for what's right, make sure to show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more updates. This nuanced stance also served as a shield, protecting her from potential league retaliation. By not directly accusing Hartley of a malicious act, she avoided any claim of making defamatory statements. Yet, her criticism of the league's culture and officiating was clear and potent. It was a savvy move that allowed her to speak her truth with power and precision without giving the league an easy reason to fine or sanction her for her comments. She played the media game with the same toughness she displays on the court, outmaneuvering the controversy and controlling her own narrative in a way that few athletes manage to do. In the end, Sophie Cunningham's response was a testament to her character. It revealed a person capable of profound forgiveness and fierce protection, of personal grace and public pressure. She taught a lesson that resonates far beyond basketball, that you can confront a wrong done to you without losing your humanity, and that you can fight for change without resorting to the same negativity that started the fight. Her journey from the hardwood to the microphone proved that her greatest strength isn't just in her jump shot, but in her unwavering spirit. Amidst all this emotional turmoil, something incredible happened on the court that night. The Indiana Fever, down 21 points, without Cunningham and without Clark, staged the greatest comeback in franchise history. The atmosphere could have easily succumbed to despair. Their emotional leader, Sophie Cunningham, had just been carried off the court. Her season ended in the most brutal fashion. The weight of that moment, combined with a daunting deficit against the powerhouse Connecticut Sun team, was enough to break most teams. You could see it on the faces of players, a mixture of shock, anger, and grief. It felt like the lowest point of an already punishing season. But instead of folding, instead of letting the injustice of it all consume them, this group did something extraordinary. They channeled all that raw emotion into pure, unadulterated fuel. They made a silent pact to fight not just for a win, but for their fallen teammate. This was no longer just a game. It was a mission. Led by an absolutely legendary, career-defining 38-point explosion from Kelsey Mitchell, the team rallied in a way that felt like something from a movie. Mitchell wasn't just scoring, she was orchestrating a masterpiece of sheer will. She became untouchable, a whirlwind of determination driving to the basket, pulling up for deep, contested threes, and sinking free throws with ice in her veins. But this historic win was far from a one-woman show. It was a testament to every player digging deeper than they thought possible. Aaliyah Boston became an immovable force in the paint, battling for every single rebound against a physical Sun frontcourt. Her double-double, a crucial anchor in the storm. Natasha Howard played with veteran ferocity, her scoring and defensive intensity providing a steadying presence. Then there was Lexi Hull, who stepped into the glaring spotlight of overtime and drilled a massive, clutch three-pointer that swung the momentum irrevocably in the Fever's favor. Each player, from the starters to those coming off the bench, contributed a vital piece to the puzzle. This wasn't just a victory. It was a statement. It was the team embodying the very resilience and fight that Sophie Cunningham had represented for them all season long. It was as if they had absorbed her spirit, her refusal to back down, her relentless toughness, and poured it onto that court. Every defensive stop, every hustle loose ball, every scored basket was a direct rebuttal to the adversity they had just faced. They were proving that while you can injure a player, you cannot break the spirit of a team that is truly united. The win was a powerful message to the entire league. This team, despite all its setbacks and all the outside noise, had a heart that wouldn't stop beating. They won for themselves, they won for the fans, but most importantly, they won for her. It was the ultimate tribute, a night of basketball alchemy where pain was transformed into triumph, and a team discovered its true character in the face of unimaginable hardship. So what really happened under the basket? It was more than a knee injury. It was a catalyst. Sophie Cunningham's torn MCL exposed a deep, festering issue within the WNBA, a glaring inconsistency in officiating, a perceived prioritization of image over player safety, and a leadership vacuum in moments of crisis. The incident forced a conversation that fans and players have been trying to have for years. It's a conversation about where the line is, about accountability, and about what kind of league the WNBA truly wants to be. Sophie's response, both graceful and fiercely strong, turned her into a symbol of that fight. The comeback victory proved her team has that same fight in them. The question now is, does the league have the courage to join it? If this story shocked you, or if you believe athletes deserve to be protected, hit that like button, subscribe with notifications on, and tell us in the comments what you think the WNBA needs to do next.